Okay, today I'm going to be talking about what is the future of esports. And don't mind, today I'm, again, just going to be running around the countryside of Red Dead Redemption 2, and this is what it's going to be like for every one of these videos I do. And to start off, before talking about the future of esports, we need to talk about what esports was like before it is what it is today. And it started out in 1972, and it was with arcade games getting the highest score possible. And one of these, the most popular first tournament was in Space Invaders, and it was, it started out in Stanford University, and they all came and they just played the game together, and whoever got the highest score, and it's not like it is today, but they got a free subscription to Rolling Stones magazine for a year, which, that's nothing like it is today, but that's how it started out as. And it's crazy to think that it was at Stanford University, and that's not something you would see at Stanford University today. So that's what it was in 1972 till about the 1980s, 1990, 1989 if we want to be exact. That's when it, oh no, there's a cougar. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What? Oh, well. A cougar just interrupted that. My bad, guys. Okay. So, and the games that they did, it was not only Space Invaders, it was also Donkey Kong or Pac-Man, and you would just get the highest score possible, and whoever got the highest score would be the winner, and they wouldn't get a prize like it is today. It wouldn't be a cash prize, and if it was, it would be a very small amount. But that's how it was in the beginning, because video games weren't what they were today, and it wasn't a team kind of environment. It was just something you tried to get the highest score possible in. And then, and then about the 1990s, that was about, I guess you would say, the Nintendo era, and that's when they really started to that's when tournaments and things like that really started to shine, and it was the Nintendo era, so things like the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and all those kind of games that you could finally play with other people, Super Mario Bros, games like that, you could play with other people and you could compete more, like get the fastest time. It wasn't only get the highest score possible, it was also, can you, the game sport and vibe, the esport evolved, and it became something more. And it became not only highest score, but it also became who can complete this in the fastest time, who can survive the longest, all that kind of things. And the prime example is a Nintendo Championship. And I don't know the specific details to it, but it was, instead of only being a tournament in one spot and some dudes came to it and they just see who could get the highest score, it is now who can come here from all these cities that they're going to tour around America, and they're going to try and find who's the best, and they all get to go to the finals of it. So now it was more like an actual sport, like say football, where they actually went to whoever did the best would go to the finals of it, and it was a world-renowned thing. And you can get one of these cases. They made, I think, only around 75 of them, and they can go for $15,000, if not more than that today. And that was really when esports became what it is. That it was really the step from the 70s to the 90s was really what made esports what it is today. And then as it went from the 70s into the 90s into the 2000s, it turned into global tournaments or online games or MOBAs and all that kind of things, because that's when, when it was hit the second century, that's when games really started to evolve. And so you'd see games emerge like MOBA and League of Legends and Dota 2, and you could, they were actual team games where, that's so much more of a sport when you actually are having to work with a team to be able to be the best possible. One of the prime examples is CSGO. That game is still extremely popular, and it started out as something extremely small. And now it is one of the biggest games and one of the most competitive games out there. And I mean, that's kind of where it started in games like League of Legends and Dota. All these really early games that had this competitive experience to it are some of the most popular games today. Like League of Legends and Dota, they're extremely old games, but they're some of the most popular games out there today. I mean, I cannot. I mean, if a game has a good competitive scene to it, then it's going to have a long player base because people want to be one of the top players in that game. It's just everybody has that kind of dream to be one of the best, and that's where it starts off at, is those early days when it became, I mean, just a good game. And they have extremely high rewards. Like League of Legends, I mean, it has $1 million prize pool. I mean, if you can come out there and you can show your skills and you can be the best, you can win $1 million, you and your team. And I mean, that is an insane amount of money. I mean, that doesn't even, I mean, that is just such a crazy amount of money. But now, I mean, the player base for video games is becoming larger. Games such as Fortnite, I mean, it's really showing the esports community what it can be. I mean, I don't play Fortnite as much as I used to, but they've come out with tournaments you can do now that you can just play with other people. I mean, if I wanted to, I could just go and I could go play with some friends or play by myself, and I could go into a tournament. And I mean, that really shows, that shows your ability, how well you can do in a competitive scene. And there's also internet things such as Players Lounge, which allow you to actually win money for it if you do well. I mean, that starts you off small because it's a new site and it is something new. And this isn't a promotion or anything. I'm just saying I've done some of it before, but you can win 25 cents for your first one, and then you can go into ones that are 25 cents for the qualifying purchase, and you could get, I mean, I think some of them you can get to $10, and that's you between 6 other people. I mean, you can just get a massive, and you can just keep going from there if you can actually show your skill. And that's what I think the future of esports lies in. It lies in the fact, can people, can they perform in these kind of things? I mean, online tournaments are what esports is turning into. It's turning into things such as Players Lounge, where, I mean, people can just play for a bit and they can just see if they would be good at the esports idea. They could win some small money, and that's what esports is really turning into. I mean, esports is growing by far. I mean, one of the largest things that I've seen when I was doing my research for this is that it could actually become an Olympic sport. They've been trying to make it become an Olympic sport, and many people have said that it is. I mean, I consider it a sport because it is. Because if you truly want to be good at video games, you have to put a lot of practice and just as much, if not more, as a regular sport. And I mean, it doesn't work. It's not a physical sport, and it's a mental sport. I mean, I consider it something more along the lines of chess, where you have to know the strategy, and in everything you do, you have to know what is the best thing for me to do in this time to be able to come out with the win, or come out being the best in this portion. Such as Fortnite, whenever somebody is encountered with another person, they have to figure out what is the best way I can attack this so I can survive, and I can get the #1 spot in this game. And that's, I mean, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice to know in every situation how you can survive in it. And they're really trying to. I mean, I don't think it'll be a reality for many years, but I think it could truly be. It could be an Olympic sport. People would actually come to the Olympics to try and prove how good they are in video games in an Olympic sport. I mean, that is just insane, where people would come to go play video games, because video games are a new thing. At least they're not what they were 20 years ago, obviously. And the fact that they could be in the Olympics is crazy. So to sum up what I just said, I think the future of esports lies in things such as Players Lounge, where people could come in. They're just amateur players. They're not professionals. They're not people who have dedicated their lives, but they could see if they could pursue a future in esports. And that's what I consider Players Lounge to be. It's to see, can I compete against these other amateur players, and can I succeed? And if they find out they can succeed, I mean, then they can pursue a future in it. And I mean, that's what it is now. It's seeing, can I do it? And I mean, you can do anything that you set your mind to, obviously, But I mean, it's like high school, in my opinion, when you're playing football and you put some work into it, and then you're like, well, I'm not that good at football, I'm not going to pursue it. Or you're like, I am pretty good at football, I am going to pursue this, and I'm going to keep practicing. That's what Players Lounge is like. It allows people to show, it allows people to see, are they good enough to pursue this? And there's always practice, so if you're not good the first time, but you want to practice to get better, that's what it's also for. And I also think, I mean, video games are a constantly changing thing because technology is constantly advancing, and video games require our technology. I mean, however good our technology is, determines how good our video games are going to be. So it's always a changing thing, but I think the future of esports lies in things like Players Lounge, and that's how people are going to know if they can pursue a professional gaming career, essentially. Because, I mean, it's a hard thing to do. And I think that's the true way that people can realize, are they good enough to pursue it? And I also think that not only the future for new players, but the future for people who are professional gamers now is in the Olympics. I think that an Olympic actual team being formed, say the best in the United States going against the best in Japan, yeah. I mean, it could be an Olympic sport, and I don't think I think it's in the near future. I think whenever the next Olympics is, not the next one, but I think at least in 20 years we could see that being a reality, people coming there, because it's an estimated thing that 430 million people are going to watch esports in 2019, and people see it. It's a growing industry. There's people like Shaquille O'Neal who are making and funding their own esports teams. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal, who is a professional basketball player, is creating his own esports team. And if it continues like that, I mean, video games it's becoming easier and easier as the technology evolves for people to do it. So as video games become a larger part of our lives and technology does, then esports is also going to become a larger thing, because it's showing people, what was that? Oh, well, I died. I mean, it's going to become a growing thing, and it always will be. It never will start dying, because technology is always advancing. And that's all I really have to say, is the future of it lies in the Olympics. It lies in Players Lounge for people to see if they can pursue it. It lies in YouTube, Twitch. I mean, it lies just in technology, because it can only be determined by technology, and technology is always advancing, so it's hard to say where it's going. But right now, the Olympics and Players Lounge, in my opinion, are how esports is going to grow and how it's going to stay alive. And I think the Olympics, I mean, if and when esports is implemented into the Olympics, that's when we know that, I mean, esports is a true sport, and I believe it is a true sport because of the time and energy people have to put in to become good at the game. But yeah, that is what I have to say about it. I think esports is going to be part of our future, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you need to say anything else, and if you guys think of any ways that I can improve, please tell me. I'm always open to constructive criticism. And yeah, I'm going to be doing this often again, so just pop back in, watch, and maybe you'll get more informed. Yeah, see you later, guys.